Hi guys.
How are you?
How are you? We're not okay.
We're having a morning today. So who knows what day it is anymore. But you know what? The medicine is always yoga. So we are going to do a nice juicy flow today. Really simple, but it's going to open up the body and hopefully just make us feel good and de-stress a little bit.
Yes, that's exactly what we want and exactly what we need.
Yes. All right, let's get started, hey?
Do we need any blocks for today's practice?
Look, I always encourage blocks, especially if you are new to yoga, to use them, but they are not necessary. So if you don't have blocks, don't stress. But yeah, we don't really need them.
Let's get to it.
Cool. All right, guys. Stepping to the top of the mat. And as always, closing down the eyes if they're not so already. Anchoring down through the feet, all four corners, just noticing that downward energy as you firmly press into the mat. And you might like to peel the toes up, press them back down, heels lift, and just find that juicy, sweet spot in the middle. And on the next inhale, just elongating through the spine and feeling that upward energy. So we're working in opposition here. Nice and strong in our Tadasana. And let's just go for 5 cycles of breath here. One more breath. And on the next inhalation, we open the eyes if they're not so already. Take our hands to sky, hands in prayer. Slight back bend. Exhale, swan dive forward, forward fold. And we'll take a ragdoll here, so grabbing opposite elbows, or you might like to take the hands behind the legs. Or you might like to even place the back of the hands just by the feet and just allow them to drape. Micro bend in the knees, allowing the belly to soften over the thighs. And just enjoying this nice inversion here, ridding any activity of the mind. Let's take 2 more breaths. On the next inhale, framing the feet, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And from here we're going to step both feet back, meeting in a 4-point kneel. And you can take a child's pose here on the way if that feels good for you. If not, we'll meet in our tabletop position. Shoulder width distance with the hands, making sure all 10 fingers are equally spread across the mat. Our hips are over the knees. And I always encourage cat-cow sequence to be done with the eyes closed, but you can have a soft gaze here. Inhale, breath, drop the belly. Tilt the head back, open through the chest. Exhale, arch the back, hollow out the rib cage, pause, and we begin again. Inhale. And just awakening the spine here. And just encouraging any intuitive movement that feels good for you. So if you're happy with this, stick with this. But if you'd like to take some hip circles from side to side, Perhaps softening through the sitting bones down to the heels. Child's pose, waving the body forward, back to your 4-point kneel. And just allowing the breath to weave through the body. Intertwining, working together to create this beautiful movement. Let's go for 3 more cycles of breath wherever you are. Meeting in stillness in our 4-point kneel on your 3rd exhalation. And once you arrive back in your 4-point kneel, you tuck the toes if they're not so already. Pull the pelvis to sky, downward facing dog. You might like to lift both heels here. Firm the back down to the mat. Walking the dog. One more breath. Firming both soles of the feet down, just pausing in your down dog for a moment, just checking your foundation. Making sure you're comfortable in your dog before we move into our next pose. Inhale, heels rise once again, looking to the top of the mat. And to start with, we will step all the way to the back of the hands without lifting the palms if you can. Naturally, as we get closer, the palms will want to lift, and that's okay. Meeting in a halfway lift, lengthening through the spine. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise, hands in press, light back bend, shifting the hips forward. Exhale, hands to heart center. And just taking this opportunity to perhaps set an intention for yourself. It could be anything. And just holding that with you for the remainder of practice. And on the next exhale, we release the palms. Inhale, reset, hands to sky. Exhale, release. Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. And we'll step the left foot back. And we'll move through our high to low. Meeting in a prone position, easy cobra, drawing the elbows in. Slight lift of the chest just above the navel, pushing the earth away. And on the next exhale, we tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Stay for the in-breath. On the exhale, we lift the heels, yogi's choice, to step or hop to the top of the mat, bend in the knees. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands to heart center, reset. Inhale, hands to sky. Exhale to fold. And just allowing the breath to move with each transition and just feeling this nice, juicy repetition of movement. This time we step the right foot back. Option 2, take your chaturanga this time. Pause. Rolling over the toes, upward facing dog or sticking with easy cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. And let's just take 3 breaths here in the downward facing dog. Just noticing how we're feeling, checking in with the quality of mind, the breath. 1 more. Lift the heels, balancing on the ball mounts of the feet, eye gaze forward, step or hop to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise. Hands to heart center. And let's continue to flow, adding on now. Taking the hands by our sides, inhale, upward hands. Exhale to fold, speeding it up a little bit now. We know where we're going. Uttanasana, Ardha Uttanasana. Option to step back or jump back through your chaturanga, your choice. Rolling over the toes, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Taking 1 breath here. And you might just want to shift that right foot closer to the left. And on the next in-breath, leading with the heel, it is the left leg to sky. 3-legged dog, squaring the hips to the mat. Inhale, tiger curl the knee into chest. Step the foot between the palms. We're in a low lunge. Pause here for a moment. Take the eye gaze to the back foot, setting up on a 45-degree angle, so heel to heel alignment here. And option to come up via the hips or straight into classical warrior 1. And once you get your foundation set up in your Virabhadrasana 1, you can take your hands in prayer. Classical warrior 1. And just pulling those kneecaps up via the quads so they're nice and active. Hold here for 2 breaths. And on the next exhale, we take our eye gaze to our front leg and we shift that left foot just ever so slightly to the left to make way. So we'll take our hands to the back of the sacrum, humble warrior, leading with the crown of the head. Knuckles to sky. Hold. Just make sure you're not looking at those elbows as well. 1 more breath. Inhale, release the hands. Come back up via warrior 1. Stay for the in-breath. Exhale, circle sweep the hands, frame the front foot. Make your way through your vinyasa and we'll all meet in the downward facing dog. Always taking this moment to compare both sides before we move over to the opposite. And shifting that left foot just a little bit closer over to the right. And on the next in-breath, we take that right leg to sky, leading with the heel, flexion in the foot. Inhale, tiger curl the knee into chest. Step the foot between the palms, setting up for our warrior 1 first, 45 degrees. Eye gaze to sky. Or you might like even to take your eyes to the front of the room if that helps keep you stabilized. Sinking that little bit deeper. We always want to think of our warrior 1 as a living and living and breathing thing. So on the inhale breath, we grow taller, and on the exhale, we melt deeper. I remember being told that once in a class, and it really resonated with me, and it just helped me get into the pose just that little bit more. Stay for the inhale, and on the exhale, we'll shift that right foot just to the right corner of the mat, setting up for a humble warrior. Clasping the hands, open chest, and we melt, leading with the crown of the head, maintaining that lunge. Really reaching those knuckles to sky. One more breath. Exhale, slowly coming back up, meeting in Vira-1. Just for one more breath. Exhale, circle sweep the hands, framing the front foot, making your way through your vinyasa. Just take 3 breaths in the down dog here. Just drawing those heels down, firming down on the knuckle of the index and the thumb finger. Heart is just melting just that little bit further towards the mat. One more breath. And on the next exhale, we're going to drop the knees, setting up for Anahatasana, melting heart pose or puppy dog pose. So just reaching those hands to both corners of the mat, and you might need to shimmy the sitting bones back just a little bit. And you have a few choices here. If you do want to use a block and you have them at home, you can take both blocks and place the forearms over one another. Or if you want a little bit more, you can take either the chin or the forehead to the mat. And just making sure that the hips are over the knees. We will be here for 5 breaths. Breathing in and out through the nose. 2 more breaths. And on the next exhale, making your way to sit on your heels. And you can have the toes tucked here if it feels good. And just taking the hands to your thighs, open palms, closing down the eyes. And just catching your breath here. And bringing your awareness back to where you started, perhaps your intention. Reminding yourself of what brought you here today. And on the next inhale, we begin to make our way to a seated position with our legs out in front of us, extended. So we're in Dandasana, staff pose. So taking those hands by our hips, flexing the toes to the shins, nice and straight through the spine, ease in the shoulders. Pausing here for one more breath. And on the exhale, we bend through the knees, making our way to a flat back position. We'll end the practice with some bridging. So always in a bridge position, you want to make sure that you have that hip width distance, but you want to be able to scrape the back of the heels with the fingertips. That's where you want to be. And you can place the hands on the hips, or you can place the hands to sky as we begin to rise, pelvis to sky. We have our knees in line with our hips, hips in line with shoulders, and we pause here. Really anchoring down through the feet. Our sternum is reaching to our chin. And on the next exhale, we slowly melt back down. And we're going to go for 2 more rounds just like this in our bridge. And if you do want to take a supported bridge and you do have a block at home, you can always just place the block underneath the sacrum, so that's the base of the tailbone, and just hang here. But if you'd like to come with us, we're going to take the hands to sky once again, and on the inhale breath, you rise. Stay here for 2 breaths. Exhale, release. 1 more round, and you can take your hands up overhead for the final round if that feels good for you. Inhale, hips to sky. And let's hold here for 5 breaths if you can. And you want about a plum's width distance between the sternum and the chin here as well. So we're just creating a little bit of space for us here. Last 2 breaths. Exhale, release back down. Hug the knees into chest. And on the next inhale, we're just going to take a couple of rock and rolls here and meet back in a 4-point kneel. Take as many as you like. We're all meeting in the same place. And final stretch for the practice, we're going to end with pigeon pose. Usually I like to come through this from downward facing dog, which you can do at home if you like. But we're just going to simply take that right shin parallel to the top of the mat. So the right knee is to the right hand. And you might want to look back to that left leg and just make sure it's in a nice straight line from your hip to your ankle. Squaring those hips off to the front of the room. And elongating through the spine. And when it feels good, or if it feels good to do so, releasing the chest. Neck is soft, and if you do need to floss the neck from side to side here, please do so. Just going to take another 4 breaths here. And last breath. Inhale to come back up. And very kindly remove yourself from this position. Don't rush it. Just pausing in your 4-point kneel for a moment. And then beginning to make your way to the opposite side. This time it's the left shin. And just setting yourself up the same way. I know I'm a lot tighter on this side than I am the other. So just listening to your body, always being content with where you are, not forcing anything. And if you are ready, and if it feels good, you may melt the chest to the earth. allowing the head to hang heavy here. Let's take 4 breaths. Final breath. And exhale. Slowly coming back up through center. This time taking the right leg to meet the left, and we're simply going to meet in a flat back position, preparing ourselves for our final resting pose, our Shavasana. If there are any shapes you'd like to take to complement your practice, please do so. Or if you are ready, extending the legs out long, palms face the sky. Unclenching the jaw, allowing the tongue to go. Our breath returns to its natural state, softening all throughout the body. I'll let you know when your time is up. And as always, because you are at home, I encourage a longer Shavasana if you have the time to do so. Though if it's time to move on with your day, your evening, places to be, people to see, then you'll begin to deepen the breath now, bringing physical awareness back into the body, introducing subtle movements. Breathing into the fingertips, the toes. Taking arms up overhead for a nice stretch. Pointing the toes, creating length and extension through the body. And on the next inhale, bend through the knees and melt over to your right hand side. Using your bottom arm for support. And still with your eyes closed or with a soft gaze, beginning to make your way to a comfortable seat to close our practice. And once you arrive, taking your hands in prayer to heart center, slight bow of the head. Take a nice, delicious inhale here, soft exhale. And just acknowledging the effort that we have made today, not just for turning up for one another, but for gifting ourselves with this time to practice. And always and most importantly, bowing our heads to the practice that cultivates peace. Taking our thumbs to our third eye center. The love and light in me acknowledges the love and light in you and all of humankind. Namaste. Thank you.